Mr. Veasey.
Under the gentleman yields back. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 6, 2015, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Veasey, is recognized for the remainder of the hour as the designee of the Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague, the gentlelady from Texas, who represents the Houston and Harris County area, who does such a great job about speaking out on these issues. Her and really the entire delegation down there, Representative Green, and Representative Jean and Al Green, along with Representative Jackson-Lee, do a great job of keeping this on the forefront of Texans' minds and on the United States' mind, because Texas is such a large state that oftentimes legislation that is passed out of Texas has an impact on the rest of the nation. And it does seem that much of the discriminatory laws regarding redistricting, regarding voter suppression, like the Voter ID bill, sadly has emanated from our state. And Mr. Speaker, let me tell you just how bad it is in our state, and this is going to be really hard for some people to believe. But in the state of Texas, if a young person on a college campus were to find themselves, their freshman year lost on the campus, or if they were to find themselves in a little bit of trouble on campus, they would be able to show their student ID to the proper law enforcement official who is a police officer recognized by the state of Texas on the campus to identify themselves, and that ID works for them to be able to legally identify themselves. But in the state of Texas today, that same young person would not be able to show that same student ID at the voting place, at the voting booth, to be able to cast a vote. But if you bring your concealed handgun license in, then you can cast a vote. The student will be given a provisional ballot that wouldn't count, and the person with the concealed handgun license would be able to cast a legal ballot. Who is that really going to hurt? You have so many young people, particularly young people that don't come from wealthy families, whose parents really struggle to send them to college, and they don't have cars in college, so they don't have their driver's license, and they really rely on their student identification for everything that they do. And in the state of Texas, they absolutely cannot use that ID. And there are many things about the Texas Voter ID law that I'd be honest with you that I just really don't like. And I became a plaintiff in the suit to try to scale back what I consider a very egregious act against voters in the state of Texas. And I was very delighted that back in July that the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit actually upheld a lower court's decision that the Texas Voter ID law had a discriminatory effect on minority voters and violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. I hope that this means that the proper action will be taken to do something to scale back this law and the impact that it's having on people that simply want to exercise their suffrage, people that simply want to be able to vote. We take that for granted, that you can simply vote, but this Texas Voter ID law and many other laws from my time in the state legislature that were proposed, and luckily some of them never advanced, that would really roll back the clock on individuals that want to exercise their right to vote. And I'll tell you that what I've done in the meantime is joined as a original co-sponsor of the Voting Rights Advancement Act of 2015 that restores the right and advances voting rights that were provided to us in 1965 by providing a modern-day coverage test which will protect our communities from these type of discriminatory practices. And I'll tell you, I'm very proud to join with Terry Sewell, with Representative Judy Chu, with Representative Linda Sanchez, and of course with Representative John Lewis, who understands probably more than anyone in this body what discriminatory laws can do to affect a community. And what this bill does, Mr. Speaker, is that it provides coverage for 13 states upon enactment. Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Arkansas, Arizona, California, New York, Virginia, and sadly, and I'm a very proud Texan. I love everything about our state. But unfortunately, we've been in the forefront of discrimination against voters, and Texas is included under this legislation as well. And this new geographic formula is based on current conditions and a 25-year look-back provision. And so I hope that we'll be able to work together in a bipartisan manner to protect all of our voters, not just some of our voters, but to protect every single voter in the United States that would like to cast a ballot. It doesn't matter if the voter is poor and they weren't able to go and renew their driver's license, and so their driver's license may be 61 days expired. It doesn't matter if it's a student that can't, whose parents are just putting every little bit of money that they have to get them through college, and because of that, their only ID is their student identification card, and they would like to use that. We need to be able to make it easier for individuals to vote in our state. Everybody wants people to be able to lawfully vote too, and we ought to be able to work together in order to pass strong voting rights laws that protect all of our citizens, because we certainly don't want to discourage anyone from voting, and we certainly don't want to look like we are going backwards from where we once were back in the 1960s. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back my time and yield back the balance of my time, and thank you very much.